to Healing Numbers 22 live numerology reading. We're all going to get together for an hour to discuss numbers, planets, tarot cards, and how they influence our lives. Energy is energy, no matter what modality we use, no matter how we are all interpreting it. It basically is going to tell us the same information. It's really very cool. Let me introduce the readers. Today we have Adriana McNeil, intuitive numerologist, David Woodbridge, astronumerologist, Dorothy Morgan, astrologer. Kraylin Christensen couldn't join us today, but she's a little under the weather, so we hope that she's feeling better and can join us next week or next time. So let's see. It's really important to me that I hold a safe and comfortable platform for everybody. We're all on our own journey, but we're all in it together. So please, no judgments on others. It's all about respect and kindness. Now I'm recording this, so if that makes anybody uncomfortable, it will go on YouTube. It will go on my website. Just turn your cameras off. Now, if you have any questions during this live reading or even after it, once it gets posted on YouTube, just you can email me or you can post your questions in the chat as we're going today. So welcome to everybody. I want to welcome Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer is from Arizona. Let me set the stage.
It's early here. Dorothy, you think it's early?
I know. I saw that too. I was like, oh, maybe.
Jennifer and I have been good friends for a long time. I've always called Jennifer my past life sister because she's the one that always reaches out when I'm in a crisis and seems to be there for me and help me get through things, because I'm not really a feelings person, but Jennifer helps me deal with all that stuff. So she's very knowledgeable with numbers. We've been chatting about numbers for a long time, and she's a life coach herself. So her website, her business is called Soul Urge, which is our heart's desire. So it all kind of works together with that. So I'm extremely curious about what the planets are saying for Jennifer, because we know a lot about the numbers. So I'm going to start right out with Dorothy. Dorothy, let's.
Hi. All right.
Right.
We can do that. Hi, Jennifer. It's nice
Hi,
to
good morning.
meet you.
You too.
So you had a couple questions, and everybody who is it true, Sue, that when even people who are joining just to listen in, do they get the questions too that Jennifer poses?
No.
Oh, okay.
You want me to do it?
No, I just yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. I could just cover it because I was wondering, because you asked a question and not everybody knows about, like the things you asked. So if somebody's saying, well, what does that mean, Saturn return, or what does that mean, moon sign? So I just thought I would clarify that for people who aren't educated in astrology, because not everybody knows what those things mean. So she was wondering about her moon sign. I'm just going to grab the chart, so I won't be looking at you guys. So the moon sign, just every planet that we use in astrology is somewhere in a sign somewhere, because that zodiac belt's just around us. So at the moment, the day, time, and place a person is born is like a snapshot. And then we can just look out into the universe and see where all the planets happen to be positioned based off of the zodiac belt that is around us. So that's what that represents. And Jennifer asked about her moon sign, like the meaning of the moon sign. And I love looking at the moon sign. Those are the three big ones: the sun, the moon, and the rising sign. The moon, the sun sign, everybody knows their sun sign. It's like, what's your sign? That's the sun sign. And you're an Aquarius, Jennifer. You probably know an awful lot about that. And that's what we're learning. The eagle's here to learn about. And the moon is how we are emotional. So our emotions. This is why she gets along well with Geminis, because her moon is in Gemini. So that's one of the
Oh.
reasons why we would get, we'd all get along well. And, so it's really close to where your sun is. Your sun was in almost the same place as the moon. And the moon goes around the whole zodiac in just like just under 29 days. So Jennifer asked, what does that moon sign mean? And the moon in the sign of Gemini means when you're emotional, Jennifer, the best thing for you to do is to, and this will be intuitive because our moon sign is just what we naturally do emotionally. You want to talk. You want to analyze things. You want to work things out. You want to hear what other people have to say. When the moon is in the sign of Gemini, that is what a person will instinctually do is you learn, I mean, you're older too, there's more to it. It's not just the talking, but that's what Gemini represents. It's like, I want to talk. I want the information. I need to know how somebody else feels. I want to share how I feel. The flip side of Gemini is listening. So I'm a good listener. So when I know somebody, and Sue, you just said that right off the bat. This is how I know Jennifer, because she always has this feeling. She always, this were your words. So I'm not overly emotional about things, but she'll come in and she'll say, hey, what's going on? And then she'll listen and she knows the right words. So being a coach is a perfect profession for somebody that has the moon in an air sign. All of the zodiac signs have an element to it. And so I would look heavily to that element, and that element is air and how we express it. Your sun sign is also an air sign. People think Aquarius is water. It is not. It's an air sign. And that is also there's also a lot of analytics, very analytical, and you want to process and think and help others in that way. So that is your moon sign. So you were asking about that. How does that resonate? How does that sound to you?
It does not resonate. I hate sharing my emotions. I'm very private.
I
It
didn't
drives my
say
husband.
you had to share them. I said it is important that you well, I did say share, but write that information out. So it doesn't mean you necessarily have to express it to others, but you need to use your intellect and your words to express yourself emotionally.
Okay, that resonates more. Like I'm more likely to journal and write things out.
Terrific.
But I definitely an analyzer. I definitely am going to look at them, analyze them. What do they mean? What can I learn from them? There's a lot going on in my head.
So yeah, so that does resonate with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
resonates with me because the certificates and the education that Jennifer has sitting behind her has taken a whole lot of dealing with emotions and learning how to bring yours up versus getting other people to release things.
Yeah,
right?
I've really had to learn and work on the emotional side.
Because societally, we're taught from others how we're supposed to behave emotionally. And that is not always in alignment with what we need and what our moon sign is. So
yes, I would agree with that, because I feel like growing up, it was discouraged or not encouraged. Like no one ever asked me, how do you feel? Nobody.
Me either.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Okay.
That's what that shows.
I'm understanding that better. Yeah, thank you.
And the moon is in 120-degree angle to the sun, so that's called a trine. So it's an air trine because the sun is in Aquarius, again, air. So that means you're in what we call the first quarter phase. You're born under the lunar phase. That's the first quarter in that monthly cycle, which represents somebody who is learning. Think of a child that is just sort of preteen. They're learning about life. They got some understanding, but they're learning. So on a soul level, you're at that stage. So you're learning a lot about life, and you have an awful lot of support from that sun in Aquarius, because that is incredibly analytical. And even a mathematical position called the lunar south node is in Libra. That's the other air signs. You have this big triangle in the middle of your chart with all three air signs mathematically connecting for the sun, the moon, and the south node. It's a life path thing. That represents, why am I here? The ego is here to express knowledge and information, and stepping a little bit outside of the norm because you're an Aquarius. The moon is like emotionally want to share information, share how I feel. And again, life has taught you don't do that. So you've had to learn how to express it yourself. Okay.
Yes.
And you are a good listener. That's another side. If you're not
most
a good
definitely.
communicator, I'm absolutely positive you're a good listener, because that's how the moon in Gemini works. It's one or the other. It can be both, but it sounds like you had the extreme sense of it, where you're a good listener, and then you know how to write and take notes. I do too. I take a ton of notes.
Yeah. I'm typing notes now.
Constantly, constantly notes.
Most definitely.
The south node, which is actually in the sign of Libra, that south node position is a place in space we love to use in astrology. It talks about our past lives, and the moon represents past life, things that we've drug into this lifetime to assess and to learn more about and to understand more deeply. And that's in Libra. So that's about working with others. So just looking at those three things, you are absolutely right where you should be. You should be helping others in their private, quiet conversations that isn't for the public. You're a coach, you do one-on-one things. That's exactly where you should be.
Well, that's validating. That's cool.
Let's so I'll pause there. I got more about Saturn if we get to it, and so, but I want others to chime in.
That sounded really good, Dorothy, because of all the sevens that we see in her chart. I mean, it's huge.
Okay,
it's overloaded with sevens, and a lot of these sevens, and Jennifer knows this, are karmic. It's work that she's come here to work on.
Is that what a seven means?
Well, she's the 16-7, and the 16-7 is the tarot, is the Tower card in tarot.
Oh, Jace.
And she's got her life path, expression, her heart's desire is all that. So I've always interpreted that as a soul that has really come here to let go of the material and really connect to themselves, really work on connecting to themselves. It's a private thing, which is the moon, right? It's private.
Yeah. And the North Node in Aries, which is the other side of the South Node in Libra, the North Node in Aries, the other big life path point. If we're going to pick points, the whole chart is the life path, of course, but the North Node in Aries represents something that you're trying to do new in this lifetime, and that new thing is Aries, and Aries is how to identify myself. I'm not always comfortable, tooting my own horn. I'm not always comfortable in front of people. But it's about taking action that's important for you. And it sounds just like what you just said, the 16-7. It sounds just like that, because we're not always comfortable with it. But it sounds like the North Node in Aries, she doesn't have anything else that supports it that I can remember. Let me take a look. No, nothing else supports it. So that means it's all by itself, but it sounds like the numerology insists.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Isn't that wonderful? David.
Yeah.
What's your take on all of this?
Oh, wow. Well, when I was first putting this together, the 16-7, and then I go, another one. So yeah, first and foremost, as Sue said when we were first talking earlier, I have an expression of 7, but I don't have anything near what you have. And I love to do this. And when I was looking at your numbers, and you probably may or may not already know this, but there's 2 things that seem to be incredibly important to you. And one of those is you must learn, if you haven't already, to listen to your intuitive inner voice. And that is a guiding force for you, especially with 3 7s, my goodness. But the other flip side of it, which is kind of difficult when you have some of this, is you have to be able to ground. So it is, the 2 need to work together. The grounding is probably maybe a little more difficult for you than listening intuitively. I don't know. So that came through. That was like, well, it's on high. And the grounding will keep you level, but yet you can shoot to the stars. And I even bet from a spiritual perspective, but I even bet from what you do for a living, you do get a lot of downloads, I would assume.
Yeah. I think they happen so subtly that I'm not even aware of them. Like I'm not cognitive that I'm getting the downloads and the insights.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you said that I have to be able to ground, because that is a commitment that I have to keep remaking to myself. And it's my word of the year, ground.
All right.
Working on it.
Well, let me tell you a little bit, and Dorothy can, I think it's Dorothy might be able to help me with this or back me up on this. There are different, in astrology, for example, there are many different combinations that would allow a person, when you're, as someone like Dorothy or myself who look at astrology, we can say, oh, I bet they're kind of psychic. Oh, I bet they're very kind of spiritual. Oh, and there are, like I said, there are many ways to put that. I can tell you, as being a 7 and having some of these classes, 7s get, it's like down and out. It's, you get it and it comes through. There's no, for me, I will just share, no one's, you know, talking in my ear. No one's, you know, intuition, it's like you just know. And so you have 7s everywhere. So that's why I'm saying this to you. I would say to you that the downloads, that's how you process. It's how I process. And, you know, I can tell you, so that, just so you know. Now, there are other psychics, and I know a lot, and mediums, and some have even been on here. Okay, they have talking in their ear, they have, you know, big picture things, they have all that. 7s, not so much. We actually have, we are considered, it's a divine link to spirit, believe it or not. And so these downloads, it's just part of who we are, and that's okay. So we don't.
That's really validating. Yeah, I don't see or hear. I can feel and know. But knowing is probably predominantly, and I'll say things about people to my husband as if I'm an expert in them, and I've never met them before. And then I feel like I have to hold myself back, because what do I know about them?
Well, you do.
You do know.
Okay. Interesting.
But that's very, very strongly characteristic of 7s, because I've been through psychic development classes, even just because I was. And that's one of the things you just have to learn after a while is I don't necessarily, at least not right now, I don't get all the rest, but boy, I know. And you're probably a very good judge of people. I know I'm very unstereotypical. I had a long corporate career before I stepped into this, but I could tell in an instant who was lying, who was you know, trying to play games and target and straighten that out. And I bet you can too. I bet that's probably. So the only other thing I'm going to say while I'm here is one characteristic that really came through, and it actually is supported on both sides. And here's my astronumerology for you. So I'm looking, you have your ascendant is on Gemini. So that's the first house. That's, you know, where everything started, right? So it talks a little bit about when you have that. Geminis, they process information in and out, in and out. It's like quick, done. I mean, you are just a human computer practically. You're taking in info, you're putting out info. It does not surprise me at all that you have degrees and certificates where you do, okay? That's what a Gemini is. Doesn't necessarily mean talking. It's a lot of thinking and processing, and you can handle data as good as the best of them. And I'm talking about PCs, not people. So that's what it is. And an ascendant, when you're ascendant, that's what you're putting out. That's your motivation, right? That's what you're putting out into the world. Now, here's a little tidbit that I thought was very interesting. Here's where, Sue, this is where I did a little different. So I look at very strongly your name, Jennifer, J and E, okay? That is, okay, those are energies you're putting out into the world, that these are rather significant. So when you look at your first vowel, which is an E, one of the characteristics, which is also part of your ascendant that comes out here, is freedom. You like to be, there's a degree of freedom that you like. Now, be it freedom from jobs, because you like to be independent. You're married, so I'm assuming it's not your husband or whoever, but you do like freedom. Would that be?
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
All right.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so that's, blame that on your E. So, so your J, though, was very interesting, too. So J is being a leader. Might be a little bit of an indecisive leader, but you're still a leader. And you can kind of be, it can be ambitious but quiet, right? You don't necessarily, you're not putting it out there per se, but that's kind of, it could be in how you conduct yourself, the fact that you own your own business, the fact, however it is. But part of that aspect is standing up for yourself, right? And being a leader. So all the rest, optimistic, good mind, excellent ideas, very innovative. All that kind of goes along with that. So hopefully some of that helps and maybe even, validates, if it will, on who you are and what's going on. And and I say this again, there are no mistakes. From your name,
No, you're
your
right.
birth, to where you are now, it's all as it's supposed to be. So anyway, I'll let someone else.
That was good, David. Thank you. That was really good.
Yeah.
Sure.
That hit some notes, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Adriana, let's
All
hear
right.
from you.
So in Kraylin's absence, I pulled a card. It's not a tarot card
Nice.
like I did last time. It's from my herb book. So one of your questions was about the 16/7 transit essence that you've been in.
Yeah.
So as Sue said earlier, the 16/7 is associated with the Tower card in Tarot. So I pulled this card, right? Not looking at any cards. They're herbs. They're in no way related to the Tarot. So it's not like I just tried to correlate something with the herbs. So I pulled this card. It is, I can never get the camera in. It's passion flower.
Yeah.
So in my book, passion flower says that every inch of passion flower is reaching, striving, and climbing. And I'm like, what on earth? Because that's literally the Tower card. You're constantly reaching, striving, climbing. You're constantly trying to go to higher heights and build something new. And it doesn't have to be, passion flower doesn't necessarily grow in the most beautiful places. It can grow on this in a fence, or so you're not squeezing yourself in, but it's almost like, and this correlates with the 16/7 as well. You have this ability to kind of get in where you fit in and just really rejuvenate, revive where you are. But I wanted to ask you, do you feel frustrated with the 16/7?
I get exhausted by it. It's I'm like you said, constantly reaching, striving, climbing. Like I'm always in a work mode, and I often love it, and at times get really tired by it, worn out.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired right now. Like the last few years have had challenges, and I'm in the middle of it, so I'm not. I haven't rebuilt the tower yet.
Yeah. Well, where do you, or how do you ground yourself or come back? I mean, you said that's like a constant struggle in your life. But when you do find yourself recommitting to grounding yourself, how is it that you go about that?
It is really like forcing myself to step away from, my work, my computer, and either putting my butt in a chair or in my office or outside and putting my feet on the ground and just imagining that I'm draining unneeded energy into the earth and then connecting, opening up to source. And, as simple, like in 5 minutes, I try to do that in as little as 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
You really are, like I wrote down on your chart, this higher connection to spirit. And even in just the way that you try to ground yourself, you are aware of the energies around you. You're aware of spirit, really. I don't know how else to explain it other than you're aware of spirit. And you, like everyone else has already said, you have this great intuitive thing about you. You're kind of able to tell and know. But I understand where it can feel exhausting. It's just like you, just like David, in my birth chart, prior to my name getting changed, I I also have a 16-7 expression number. So I identify as my name after it has been changed, but I also, because I have this 7 in my birth chart, it's not going to go away just because my name has changed.
Right.
So
Right.
I constantly feel like this battle almost in my head between my birth self and my adopted self, just in that I can't really make sense of things. Like I'm receiving things, but then the things I'm receiving aren't necessarily with who I identify as today, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But it is a constant stream of things that are coming to me, and it is exhausting. And then you find yourself constantly having to rebuild and still try to make sense of things. And it's like, how do I build and still try to make sense of things? Like, I feel like if you're building something, you already have the blueprint. So you're not really making sense of it. It already makes sense. But with the 16-7, there's this great lesson of faith and just foresight almost. Knowing that even though you can't see in the darkness, you're still on the right path. You're still going where you need to go. You're still getting to that destination. So it's so hard not to be like very spiritually communicating when I'm talking about the 16-7, but really just faith and trusting the process. Like I used to be an athlete. I used to play sports, and that's literally all my coaches would say: trust the process, trust the process. But 16-7, that's what it's screaming at you. Trust the process. It may feel chaotic. You may feel like you're in a whirlwind. It may even feel peaceful and a little too peaceful. Like what's about to happen next? But no matter what the feeling is, the lesson is that you have to trust the process, even when you can't really see your way out. And even if I feel like with the 16-7, there's this constant feeling of, okay, I moved past that. What's next? Because you build it up and it comes back down. It's just the lesson of the 16-7. And even while you're in that headspace, it's like, okay, even if something does come next, I'm open to accepting whatever it is that, I'm having to learn and gain from this. And just like with your emotions, having to learn how to really process and live in your own emotions, our experiences, whether they're pleasant or not, there's something we can learn from anything that we experience in life. So there's a lot to be gained to grasp that. It's not necessarily grasping at it, but just to help that sense of like grounding yourself and really being able to trust the process as you're going through life, especially in the 16-7 cycle that you're in. I think it lasts 9 or 10 years for you.
10 years.
So true.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, I like just grabbing at different experiences, like, taking pictures or writing things down and then journaling it and then coming back and saying, like that felt really wild then.
Yeah.
And that felt wild. And those two things didn't seem like they related. And here I am at the end and all of the things connected. But I can say that when you are finished with this 16-7 cycle, you will be entering into the 19-1 transit essence. So something new is on the horizon for you. And I feel like you know it intrinsically, like you feel it. And it's just about riding the wave and just letting yourself get there. Not really putting too much pressure, releasing ego, and just saying, hey, I'm here to experience my life. And you're obviously here to learn from life and teach other people how to really settle in themselves and, process their own experiences.
You're kind of like saying, let go and let God. And that's what 7 is. That's what 7
That's
is.
what's
Let
so
go and
hard.
let God. Yes, it is hard because we have to live. I mean, we have to make a living. We have to do all
Right.
those things. And a solopreneur is constantly working, even when they wake up at night. They're constantly working. So yes, burnout is a real big thing. I think we should dissect the 16/7, right? Because you get the 1, the 6, and the 7. And 6 is sitting in between 1 and 7. 1 and 7 is very analytical. They're in their head. They're strong-willed. They don't want to do what other people tell them a lot of times. They want to take it on their own force. 6 is the same way. When we draw the 6, it curls within. And it's for the 6 to uncurl itself and let go and let go. And that 7 wants you to release. What's that?
The 6, once it unwinds, it turns around into the 9, which
Correct.
is her personality number, where you want to share and express and give yourself to others and really help people be better. You want to help the world be a better place.
And what is 6? Selfless service to other people. But you get the 1 and the 7, and 6 is also very psychic. You know, mom has eyes in the back of her head. It's domestic, it's home. You know that. So there's a lot of like David and Dorothy said, there's just so much knowledge that just download. And you were born with this. So being born with this is very natural. This is all, if one of us was to step inside your body, we would probably go, oh my God, where's all this stuff coming from? How can she deal with this, right? But it just happens automatically for you.
Yeah.
7s are perfectionists. You have to be very, and 6s can be too. You have to be very careful of trying to be everything perfect, because that's not reality.
I would like to mention, I just glanced over at your chart. Dorothy said something earlier about your desire for freedom. And that was presenting itself in your chart. I just glanced over at your chart. It did not hit me any other time. You have 7 5s in your name.
It's huge.
I know.
7 is like, regardless, 7 is going to
my maturity number as well.
The 5, 14, 5. But you really have that, you really want to just not be bogged down by the day-to-day, but you're also very committed to your life and what you want to go ahead and achieve. So there is this struggle within yourself, like I just want to go, like, I don't know, travel and do things. And maybe that would be good for you, because that also helps the 7 and your ability to connect and download different things when you're just experiencing and seeing other places and people and just being free. Sometimes the best way to gain insight is to just let go. That's it for you. That's what I have for you today. Let go.
It's
so hard. Saturn now too, when you have a chance. There's a lot going on with that.
Yeah, jump in.
I got more questions. We're gonna run out of time.
Yeah, there is an awful lot going on. And Jennifer, you were talking in your questions, you asked about the Saturn return, and that doesn't happen until 2026 and 2027. So you're already under some other experience. Saturn return, for those who don't know, is just all the planets start somewhere at the time that we're born. There's that moment in space, in time, and then eventually the planet, as they continue to move, come back around to where they were when we were born. Saturn will do it 2 or 3 times in a lifetime. You have to live to your 90s for the second one, the third one. So in our late 50s, we're in the second Saturn return, but you're not there yet, Jennifer. What's been happening, and this has been going on since, let me look at my notes, actually June 10, 2021, there was an eclipse on your ascendant. And what that meant was that was an opportunity. It was actually in the 12th, almost on the ascendant. So there was an inside job started. Eclipses are important, where it would, especially on the ascendant, where you would all of a sudden start to bloom. However, simultaneously, Saturn is with your natal sun. Your sun, Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter was there. So I heard you say over the last 2 years, it's been really hard. It has. When Saturn in the sky is connecting to something personal, like our sun sign, we are asked to really step up. The lesson, it's not that you haven't done hard work. the lesson when Saturn does get there and we feel it, it's really asking you to thin the herd, if you will, to hone in on what you really know. You might have a lot of education, and that's fantastic, but start to consolidate and really educate others as to what you do. I mean, if you're busy, you're busy, and you might not need to do this. I don't know. But it is that hard work. Sounds like the hard work of a 7, not knowing what a 7 really means, except for what you guys have just said. It just shows me that it's Saturn says we're going to work hard. We're going to work wise. How do I work smarter, not harder? And you feel the pressure of that because it is conjunct your sun. And it made that exact conjunction March, September through November 2022. All right. So you had something that started in mid-June, well, in June 2021. The Saturn conjunct your sun was again that March 2022, and then all of September, October, and November of 2022. That was a lot of pressure. That is going to feel more difficult than when you finally do get to Saturn return, because the sun is our vital essence. We're exhausted when Saturn conjuncts the sun, or Saturn is making an aspect to our sun. It can be more than just that one thing, but that's what you have. And so, yeah, past.
Is that over?
That was a soul-changing year. The numerology chart would say. Remember we talked about that, Jennifer, 2022? At the age of.
All right. So that was, like I said, that went through November of 2022. However, it keeps moving, and then it made its connection. Let me grab my notes here. It made its connection to what we call the midheaven. That is the point of where our career is. So Saturn's been rising for the last 7 years, right? Oh, there's a 7.
Whoa, yeah, there you go.
I sometimes the numerology gods just shoot a word through my mind. Even though I have no idea.
So, okay. Can I intercede for just 1 minute? Okay. So for those that are watching, a Saturn return, your first one, that's when some major event in your life has usually happened that steps you into adulthood. And you're usually in your late 20s to early 30s when this happens. It can be a job, it can be a death, it can be a birth, it can be a marriage, it can be all sorts of things. But that's usually the significance of it. My understanding, and Dorothy's right on target, of course, but my understanding the second one around is something similar, just it's some sort of major event usually. Okay, just so to give some clarity to why a Saturn return is usually considered as something rather important. The one bridge I'm going to put between the two, as I do, when you're looking at your Saturn, your Saturn return coming up is in 2026, which happens to be your second personal year. So your first personal year is coming up in 2025. That's incredibly important. That's new beginnings. Usually by the second, it's a slower year, but it is one rather significant because you're working with relationships at that point to take on whatever you took on in the first year. So I don't know if you're thinking about something new, something different with your business, but in a first year, it's new beginnings. So just to give you a bit of so that could easily play in with the second Saturn return in my mind.
It will, yeah, and thank you, David. That was excellent. And that's true. The second Saturn return, while it hasn't come yet, again, it's like we're preparing for the final third of life in just in our minds, right? And in the soul, it's like, well, and this is when we realize it's like a lot of things don't matter, and what's important for us. So we start to shed things, but we still feel the responsibility of everything that's around us because we're just at this age. We're in our late 50s, early 60s, late 50s right now. So with Saturn connecting to other things before it even gets to where it was when you were born, the first time it is inspiring you to take on the responsibility and figure out how to let go. That's why you're exhausted, because you haven't released some responsibilities yet.
Right.
And you're just it's like dragging the car behind you when the brakes are on, just doesn't tow well. You gotta disengage something.
Right.
And then Saturn has early this year made a connection to that midpoint. And the midheaven, I mean, and the midheaven is your public view, how people see you, your reputation, etc., all of those things. And now it's going to spend the next 2.5 years moving through that career sector before it even gets to your
wow.
Saturn.
Okay.
So I want to give you some relief here. I want you to exhale. I want you to recognize that you've already been dealing with this since 2021. All this pressure that you're feeling, it is telling you, let's let it go.
Okay.
Ta-da!
Okay.
Let go of those things that are less important and learn how to manage that. I mean, I know at this age in life, we tend to have elderly parents, if you have that, or other responsibilities that are not just career related, but they are career related a lot for you because it's at the top of the chart, the astrology wheel, which represents your public image, how people see you, your career, what you're known for. So it is your job, Jennifer, to figure out how to decompress, how to release some of the responsibilities. You have been feeling this since 2021. I mean, I can't, we're not going to lie to you because this is why you're here. It's like, it's been a lot of hard work for a couple of years. And so now it's time you can, arrange it with the astrology, with the numerology. What is it that I need to let go? And it's responsibilities. I can tell you
Okay.
it's some responsibilities. It's, you're not getting rid of everything, but it's like distilling. It's like distillation. You've got all of this liquid and all of this fluid, all of this knowledge. Let's bring it down and condense it into something that is just, it's like great balsamic vinegar, right? It distills into something food.
I love you. It's always food.
It's always
Yay!
food. Taurus rising. Of course, I love the foods, but I'm not a great cook. But it's so it's that. So I hope does that make sense, Jennifer? That you have to like release some things, not just turn your back on things, but take the information you have for yourself and for what you share with your clients and etc. And really
That's
be
so
that
interesting.
wise.
Like over the last 5 years, I've been an entrepreneur for 5 years. In the last 3 in particular, I've done a lot of experimenting. I've kind of been all over the place. I'm like, okay, let's try this, let's try this. And it's actually been fun. It's freeing because I like the freedom and exhausting, and it's confusing to people who are following me. And so I've been lately maybe guided would be the right word, to just simplify. Okay, focus, let go of some things. Actually, I just wrote an email yesterday about something that I don't want to let go of, but I'm going to let go of because it's another responsibility. It's a time commitment, and I don't feel like I'm serving that thing well. So what you just said really resonates.
Yeah, and there's other things that are supporting that, which I can't get into here because it's just too much, but there are other things that are supporting that too. So it's not just the one thing I was focusing on. However, yeah, you can do this, and there's a ton to it.
See, that goes along, Dorothy, with her the ending of Pentacle, ending a 9-year epicycle.
Okay.
Next year she's ending. It's completion, letting go of things. Right, it's the 9 coming in 2024. Then she starts a whole new epicycle in 2025. So it's time for her to release things, and it's starting to click in. It's starting to move through her.
Oh, that's so good. Jupiter's moving through a whole bunch of different things. David will know what that means. Jupiter will be on the ascendant by the time we get to 2025, which is you're going to be really out there and very visible. Jennifer, that's
free.
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
That's exactly what I was going to say. In your 1 year, you've got some things coming up that are very cool. Just so
Yes.
And will energize you. And I know because you're a Gemini, you like things different. You don't want to stay with that's very important to you. Yeah, but like you said, you got to stay on a track. But your 1 year with being a Gemini will allow you to kind of take off. So I think things are going to change.
But you have to release things. You have to purge. If you don't purge in that 9 year, the door can't swing wide open because it's still full of stuff. So as much as you can get rid of that's no longer serving your greatest and highest good in 2024, the wider that door will open up in 2025.
Nice.
All right,
Yeah.
let me
So-
ask you this question. I don't know who wants to answer it. All right, well, because I'm a 7 and I like education, I'm about to apply for a 1-year certificate for executive and professional coaching, which would finish in 2024, which would be endings and completions as I go
Yeah.
into 2025. Starting something new and being out there and being more visible. Does that like all align? Does that seem to line up? David's
Sounds
nodding.
to me like it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And when are you starting it?
August of
Yeah.
this year.
August.
The end of this year, you said?
August.
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 August what?
Oh,
Yeah, there you
well,
go. There you go,
uh,
Dorothy. I love
hold
it.
on, I just got the calendar yesterday
Hmm.
from Stephen.
To see.
Tentative schedule.
If you've already signed up for it, it doesn't matter what we think, but however.
No, I haven't applied, but
Oh.
Oh, okay.
but I've been in conversation. It says orientation is August 14, 15, and 16.
That to me feels like you're adding more responsibility instead of
I
releasing.
like it.
You
I like
it?
it for her. It's so right before you asked the question, I was going to say, even though it's a lot of being told, let go, let go, let go. You're very curious by nature. And I remember the last time we were talking, I think you were studying death. I'm not really,
That doesn't ring a bell, does it?
we were talking, I don't know what it necessarily was, but you were just studying something. And it wasn't like related to coaching or anything. You were just curious about something. And August is a 7 personal month for you. So that would be a great month to, kind of dive into something. But at the same time, I hear you saying, you've been receiving a lot of confirmation and affirmations just in that you are going to have to kind of, like as Dorothy said, thin the herd on the different things that you're involved in. So it does sound a lot like you're becoming more of a specialist in something, which also goes with the 7 energy. 7 is a specialist. They specialize in things. They study, study, study. And it may seem random, but it all culminates into something that only a 7 could really specialize in.
Because it feels to me like strategic and it more of a specialization. I've been such a generalist over the last few years.
You have to understand the marketing of it. We'll just talk business here.
Yeah.
Capricorn moon, is that your demographic? Are you gonna be able to hone in, and because you're really being just an executive coach person, sorry for not knowing the right words, then you're really limiting your people that you would work with. But if you want to do that, that's fine. I see the astrology of this when you're beginning this is at the end of a lunar cycle in August. It's the very end. So what this tells me, and my intuition and whatever, is saying that you're not going to learn anything you don't already know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to feel comfortable because you're going to go through this and you're going to have a certificate that from somebody you honor and respect, then you're going to do it. However, since it is beginning during a complete and total, all 3 days is the balsamic lunar phase. The new moon isn't until Wednesday, the 16th, where is it? It's early in the morning. That just tells me that it's old information that you already know. Not that they're not teaching something new, but you know it.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
you already know it. You already know it. It's opposite your sun. So if you could take the orientation and then decide if you're going to invest, that is how I personally would make that choice if I was in your position with your chart. I would say, all right, well, if orientation is these 3 days, but I don't have to like sign on the dotted line and give them my money yet, I'm going to wait until after the 16th to make that decision. So I don't know how that's set up for you. That's what I would prefer myself.
Yeah, what's interesting is that I agree. I'm going to know a lot of this already, I'm excited about having a cohort though, and about connections and getting to know people and building the more, I don't know,
that's where that
professional
comes from.
collaborative side. And
yeah.
I don't have,
Partners. Mhm.
I was, what's the right word? Granted VA benefits, so I don't even have to pay for the tuition.
Okay,
Wow.
Financial
then you're gonna,
expenditure.
then
good.
you know, the South Node and the Libra energy is coming through. So that basically will let us know that you're gonna end up, you probably will find somebody that you'll partner with really well in that group.
Yeah.
And learn a lot, but it is stuff you already know. But like I said, if you feel it, you still, because I know some people just still need a certificate from somebody they, like I said, they respect, and you think that is something that makes you feel good. I don't have any certificates. That doesn't matter to me, but it matters to you, right? It matters to you, and that makes perfect
It's a
sense.
7, right? The 7.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah. I have a question, Dorothy, and this
Mhm.
is from stuff that you have taught us in live numerology reading throughout. The balsamic moon is the number 9, right?
It should be.
That's what we
It
talked
really
about,
should
right?
be. Yeah, I would.
And a
I
lot
would-
of times when 9 is around, we suggest to people not to start things, or they start things that lead them to something other than what they're doing. Okay, so
Oh,
it ends prematurely. Does that make sense?
It does.
Astrologically?
It does, because that, again, that lunar phase, which we have every month, just 2 or 3 days before the new moon, it is about that inner period. It's not about actively pursuing anything or beginning anything new. And again, life is life. Sometimes we have to,
Right.
and sometimes it's
Right,
just a short
correct.
thing, like you just said, the 9. So yeah. I mean, I always, when I'm feeling like, oh my God, I need to be doing something, and I'm always, like flailing myself, do something, work. Dare
Right,
have a
yeah.
day off. And then I look and it's like, oh, it's the balsamic moon. Forget it. Going for a hike.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you
It'll
go.
wait.
Yeah, yeah.
All
I
right, David,
know.
I want to hear what you think about going back to school.
Oh, I'm all for it.
Okay.
But
you're a
that's
7
me,
too.
right? I'm in several classes, programs, I'm a 7. No,
Yeah.
it's funny. It's funny. What I was thinking was, I'm back to your ascendant, your Gemini, and your Dorothy was right. I mean, some of this stuff is old knowledge for a Gemini, but you gave some incredibly good points. I happen to know like a double Gemini and a couple others, and they would say the same thing you just did. It's in your nature to want to learn, both from a numerology perspective as well as an astrological perspective. So as far as I'm concerned, someone else is paying for it. You're going to know new people. You're going to be able to make the bridge in different ways in your career. You go.
Yeah.
I mean, what can hurt, right? So
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
even if you were, and you won't, but even if it didn't work out for some reason, who cares? Yeah, I mean, literally, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you've scratched an itch for that Gemini, and you're 7 that needs to, have that info, and the potential for your business to go up, I think is great, and it probably will land about the time you're having a 1 year. So it all seems to make sense to me. I think it's really good.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
I like
I've
that.
already started, I'm already thinking about transitioning my business now into this target market before I even get the degree. So I feel like it's all just kind of bridging together.
Mhm. Yeah.
I like that you
Remember, that's the biggest thing. Follow that intuition.
Okay.
Because you with 3 7s, boy, that volume's on high. Stay grounded, but listen to yourself. We're all good here. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately you have to live your life. So I would just say follow.
Most definitely, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, we just a guide. We just guide. We just tell
Yeah.
people what we see as for energy around them, but you have your free will. And free will.
My biggest
reign.
challenge is being impulsive, thinking yes, that's a good idea. And then I go down this path and either I get bored with it and tired, or I'm like, oh,
Gemini.
Yeah, there you go.
is that Gemini? Yeah, I'm over
That's
that.
the
Or I'll plan
5
something
too.
in advance, 6 weeks out, and then by the time it comes, I'm like, I don't even want to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you're wired. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting too, Jennifer. That's very good that you said that, because like Dorothy said, if you could just do the beginning of it and just to see if it's going to bore you. I mean, a whole year of study, you have so many certificates, How many certificates do you have? Do you
Well,
know?
I have an
mean, she's-
undergraduate, a master's, a graduate certificate, and then I have like 6 coaching certifications.
Mhm.
Right, right. And so my
Qualified.
point is, this, what you're gonna be taking, it could be just review. That's
Yeah.
boredom. So if you could do that 3 and really get into it and make sure it's gonna teach you something. Because sevens want, they wanna learn, they don't wanna review. And they wanna
Yeah.
learn in a deeper level.
Yeah.
I looked at the curriculum and I feel pretty confident that there will be new material there for me.
Good.
David?
Oh, I was just going to say, I have an accountability partner that I work with. I've never physically met her, but she is a double Gemini. Okay. And so some of our discussions around, she goes, should I take this class? Should I take that class? Should I do this? Should I do? And I said, well, you know all this already. It's so funny. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But if you feel that, just like you said, does it give you a connection with people? Is it going to expand your business? Is it going to scratch an itch? But at the end of the point, I said, but you know a lot of this already. So, I mean, I would say, yeah, I think it's great. And you know what? You are here to learn. Remember, it's not,
Yes, that's true.
This is why you're here. And that's why I'm saying with your number 1 year, you are going to continue to change what you do. It's just how you're wired, right?
Yeah.
Some people can do the same job for a lifetime. Other people like a Gemini and
I'm so not one of them.
no, you got to keep changing and vamping and redoing.
Right.
And that's just who you are.
The problem is that I'm not making any money at the moment. That's
Well,
the problem, is that I need to earn a living.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's the marketing that Dorothy was talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The Capricorn, or I think it was
Yeah,
what you were
yeah.
saying.
Yeah, it's like you've got to look at that point of your chart, you know, the Saturn, where Saturn is moving through in your astrology is the career sector. So while you can do this new certificate, that is not stopping you. It's time for you to be out there with clients. It's time that this is the opportunity. I'm not going to say you don't want to miss it, but I did just say that. So
Yeah, right.
it's the next,
right.
but it's the next few years. And so do this if it's fun to you, if you don't have to pay for it. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the money when I was saying that. It's about how many certificates do you need? I know somebody like you as well who has lots and lots of certificates. It's like, but you got to start earning some money somewhere. I mean, this is why you've got all these skills and how you want to help others. You have to at some point just park it and get working.
I'm good at doing the thing. I'm not good at marketing the thing.
I know marketing is that's a class you should take.
Yeah, that's
Or don't take a class, hire someone.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a time when your time is worth something, right? So
no, but I need the money. I need money to pay the person to do.
Well, I mean, look at Fiserv is one example. I think I offered that up to Dorothy. Went with a lot of times just a simple consultant for very little money can help you market yourself online. Just as one example. It's out there. It's all out there. But connection, you're great with connections. So your group connect with some. They're all having a market, right?
Yeah.
So connect that way. That's another way to go about.
That's what I'm excited about. Yeah.
That's what I like that you said about the class, that you're more excited about making connections with other people in the class. Because 7 has that tendency to self-isolate and take everything on their shoulders and really push themselves into their own space. So the fact that you're wanting to get out there and to connect with other people, I don't know. I really like that was a motivation for you to take the class, because I feel like it would benefit you.
I know the last time I went to graduate school, I made so many connections that totally still serve me to this day.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll just add this. Just generally speaking, Geminis have a problem with the money side, just generally.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I would just say to you, that is an area that you might want to focus or find other people that are good at it, in the sense of, and you do have to plug in, and it's the toughest thing for a Gemini, but yeah, you're going to have to do some stuff you're bored with. But
I've done that this year. I'm really working with my budget. I have an app. I've reduced a lot of expenses. So I'm being very responsible.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just gotta take the coin. That's what.
Yeah,
And-
exactly, exactly.
There you are. That's Saturn. Let's be
Right.
responsible. Let's not
Yep.
waste time. Let's, especially time. Saturn rules time. Let's
Yep.
not waste time. Let's not waste money. Let's not waste resources.
See, that's the
Saturn.
8 year, the 8 personal year that Jennifer's in.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Really,
what
really.
issues with, find that person that does it well, and that's relationship you need to just, you know, really make work.
Gosh, I could talk to you guys all day. This hour
Yeah.
went by way too fast.
No, it
It
did.
sure did. It sure did. And we've got to conclude. Do you have anything you'd like to say or ask, Jennifer?
No, this was just so great. Many things validating, some things new, a lot to consider. I know that the overall lesson is to let go, and that's the hardest part.
Right.
The
Yeah.
hardest part.
Yeah.
Right. That's a work in progress, though. You can maneuver that to be a something that you're learning, right?
Yeah.
Instead of fighting it and resisting it,
Yeah.
let that be a subject that you're learning on how to release.
And
Because
I think
if a
I've been opening
seven's
up to that this year, like really like getting out of the office, really just saying, you know what, it's okay. I can spend the next 2 hours and go to the gym. It's not the
Right,
world's not going to
good.
fall apart.
right, because what's the lesson of the 6 is to love yourself as much as you love everybody else. To take care of you as much as you want to take care of everybody else.
Yeah.
That's a huge lesson for 6. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Okay.
everybody, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, everybody.
If anybody's interested in contacting any of our readers, I'll have all their information on the YouTube page, so that you can reach out to them. Our next group is in June 17th, and we're going to be talking with August, who has questions about relationships, work, and money and living, a location, buying real estate, I think. So we look forward to meeting him. This is fun for me because I've never met him before. So I always like to meet new people. So yeah. I thank everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so
everybody.
much, everybody.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you
So
all
fun.
next on June 17th.
Take care.
Okay.
Okay.
See you.
Bye.
See you. Bye.